Good afternoon, everyone. You guys know me. I'm Nancy Ganzikoff, a business coach and body language trainer, and I am here with Carleen Lamay of C2 Accounting. Hello, Carleen.
Hello.
I love when I go live with you to talk about numbers, even though most interior designers don't want to know about their numbers until we teach them how to know about their numbers. So this is a great topic. Maximizing client profitability. What reports do you run on your QuickBooks Online to be able to determine this? So this is a really great lesson. I can't wait to get it myself.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So I'm sure you've had this question, and I think you've actually recommended this to people as well. They need
Yep.
to understand how much money they're making on each client project. And this is whether you're an interior designer, any kind of business where you're billing clients and you're having expenses by client, then you really need to understand how much money you're making. And QuickBooks allows you to do that. But of course, it's going to take some work on the front end to be able to get that information out on the back end.
Do they have to go up in a level? Like, do they have to have a certain level of a QuickBooks Online, not the basic? Or because someone told me they have to go up to, I don't know, the QuickBooks.
Yeah, so I think you
Membership.
need to have QuickBooks Plus, and that's
That's it.
because you want to be able to, in order to be able to assign expenses to a client, you need QuickBooks Plus. So let me make one clarification. Because we use a lot of times the word project, and in QuickBooks there is a project tracking capability, but in the interior design world, a lot of the third-party design software will not sync invoices over to the project level. So, for example, they will, if you have client Jones and the project is Jones's Kitchen, and that's how you have that project set up over in your design software. When you sync, it syncs over, it will only sync to the client level. So, unfortunately, for those clients, we can't use projects, but that doesn't mean you can't get the same information. It's just done a little bit differently.
All right, that's what we need to know. How is it done differently in QuickBooks? Because yeah, the word projects would make sense logically,
Mm-hmm.
but
So,
it doesn't work the way we think it
it
works.
doesn't work the way you think it works. So how that will work for us is that we'll have the clients, we'll still have your clients. And what I've told my people who can't sync to project level, we can have client, let's say Lamay is getting her house done, and I have Lamay kitchen and Lamay bedroom, all the separate clients. And that way you still get the same effect, it's just done a little differently. But
Okay.
most importantly, what you need to do is you have to be able to put those expenses in by client. Putting the income in, that's a given. Once you invoice them, we know how much you bill client Jones. But the question is, how much was your cost of goods sold for client Jones? How much did you pay that subcontractor for client Jones? How much did you pay for shipping or receiving? So those are the things that people don't think about, and you have to be able to track that as well. So the
Yeah, and
question is,
we have a profitability analyzer, but it's separate from QuickBooks, and I'd love it just to be in QuickBooks and for
right,
everyone to know how to find out, was the Jones project
project.
40% profitability, 50, 60,
Hmm.
like what was it? So yeah, this is
So
good.
there's a couple of things that it comes into play. One is being able to put those expenses in. So if you're working with a bookkeeper like C2 Accounting, you send us your receipts and you're telling us that this receipt is for X client, and we code it accordingly so that it's in there. If you're doing it yourself, you can actually have to go in manually and do it, but it takes a couple of seconds. If you're already going to take the time to put in your expenses, just take a couple extra seconds and just allocate that expense to the project or to the client level, and you have what you need.
So if you have a credit card linked to your QuickBooks Online and your credit card has 20 transactions in a week, then go in and code the transactions
Hmm.
by project.
Right. So when you go into that, and let's share screen, because
Ooh, okay.
I think this is going to be a more of a visual kind of a day.
Yep.
So
I
you always
agree.
see me look to my left because that's where my other screen is. That way I can see you and my screen. So let's do
Okay.
that.
I'm going to hide our banners so that when you share screen,
Is it not? There it is.
there.
Okay. So
Okay.
this is our sample company in QuickBooks. And let's see if we have any transactions. Of course, we may or may not. We do, yay. So but let's pretend this McDonald's transaction is for your client. So you come
Okay.
in here, you add your payee. I'm just going to just drop that in there just because
It's
that's another
McDonald's.
thing. Totally side note, but if you're doing your own categorizing in QuickBooks, make sure every transaction has a name for the vendor. You want to know why? You want to go back and find out how much you paid that vendor? It's much easier to run a report if you label every vendor, every transaction by that vendor name.
Okay,
That's
bonus
that's a
tip.
freebie. That's a freebie
That's a
today, right?
bonus tip.
It's a bonus
Right.
tip. Okay, so let's say we come in here and we put in that this is cost of goods sold, furniture purchases. Here is where I'm going to go ahead and say what the client is. So the client is 123 client.
Oh.
And it's not usually billable because you're not going to back bill them for it. What you really is, you just want to be able to know what the expense is. So then we're going to go ahead. And if you wanted to add a memo for yourself, you can, but you don't have to. So let's hit add. We're going to do like maybe 2 more of these just for this one client. I'm just going to grab any old vendor, cost of goods sold. And you know what? I've realized we're going to have to do it to the QBO cleanup project because we don't really have a project for the other one.
Yeah, that's okay. But I see
And
what you're saying. So
yeah, so let's do
you're
one more.
you
Mhm,
mark the payee, make sure you have the payee who you paid, and
right.
then mark it in a client against a client. So a
And
new project, just create different client
yeah,
categories.
and how much more time did that take us? An extra half a
It,
second,
I was
maybe?
going to say it didn't even take a minute. I
Right,
know.
exactly. So if you're already in there doing it, you might as well just take that extra time. So now when you go in and you wanna run a report, all of us, most of us have gone into QuickBooks and you run a standard profit and loss report to see how the business is doing, right? So I'm gonna change
Yeah.
this to all dates because this is a sample company. Um,
Hmm.
but now I wanna go and change this by customer. So right here, so we're in QuickBooks. You see
Hmm.
this display columns by customer. And if I hit run, it's going to show me every customer. It's going to be a bit much. What I can do over here is customize it. Literally, as you can see, this does not take a long time. And
Hmm.
I'm just going to pick out my customer, which was 123 client. And so in this
And now
case,
you're getting a profit and loss statement on just that client.
on just that client, it tells you
Wow.
what I billed them and my
Hmm.
cost of goods sold. And I can always like click here and dig deeper and here and now you have that. Now, with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing for a second just
Okay.
so that we can focus on what we're doing here. So, with that being said, the one thing that's missing, and I'm going to be honest, it's not perfect because the one thing that is missing is your time. So, if you are tracking time and you want to know how much time you have, that is not in here. However, if you are tracking time and you have a uh, your rate, so let's say your cost for you is $100 an hour, but you have an assistant and their cost is $50 an hour, and you're already keeping time either in QuickBooks or somewhere else, you can actually quickly run a report that shows how many hours, and then
Against that particular project, if you
Right,
also
exactly, and then do the math, and so that will give you a true idea as to how much profit you made for that project.
per
Um,
hour
per
as well
yeah,
as just overall.
including the time, because that's the only thing that's missing from this. It will tell you, you can track your subcontractors, your cost of goods sold for furniture. You can track, like I said, receiving, shipping, all of those things. Time is what's missing. However, maybe QuickBooks will see this video and at some point they'll include it. But for right now, there's the extra step. But I think you're already tracking your time anyway, so it
It's
shouldn't
not
take you
really an
very
extra
long.
step. I mean,
Yeah.
even the profitability analyzer that I have for free in my assets on my website, it's basically going, if you're not using QuickBooks to track your project, right?
Right.
Put in everything the client paid you, everything that you spent related to that client,
Hmm.
cost of goods sold, like everything you just said, taxes,
Right.
take it all out. Then, yes, plug in your hours and square footage. If you want to just check square footage cost, I do
Ah,
not recommend
there you go. Right. And
ever charging by square footage, except if it's commercial. But at
mhm.
least you start to gain knowledge of how much your jobs are, how much you're making per hour, how much you're making overall on the job, which QuickBooks now I see can do for you. And you can always just add the hours and divide it.
Exactly. There you go. And it's so simple. And you really, but the key is consistency. So we have clients that are sending us receipts, but they're not sending all the receipts and they're
Mhm.
not always tagging them to the client level. So junk in, junk out, right? If you're not consistently putting this information into QuickBooks, you're not going to get what you're looking for out of QuickBooks either. So it's not a QuickBooks issue, it's a systems process issue.
It's a people issue.
I didn't want to say that. We'll just call it a process issue. That'd be nice.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a process. Not understanding how to track your own transactions. Or I think for an interior designer, the reality is a busy interior designer, it's not 20 transactions, it's 200. right?
If
It
you
could
have
be
a large
200
procurement,
in a
yep,
yeah, in
project,
a
yeah,
month, right? So to think about, even though it only took 30 seconds times 200, it's like, okay, I
right,
don't want to do this. And that's where they could turn to a bookkeeper like your company and go, can you do this for me? But they
right,
still have to give you certain information. You're not a
right.
mind reader.
Yes, exactly. And as much information as you can give us up front, that's fewer questions we have to come back. So have a process. So if you are working with a bookkeeper, have a process that if you're not sending, so most of us are, when we were doing purchasing, 90% of our receipts are coming via email anyway. So the software that we use, you can actually give you a custom email address to just forward those receipts over. We show you how to make a notation. So you get the receipt from the vendor, you just send it over.
Shoot it
It's
right
done.
over.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Make that so, and not just, and I know that as your team grows, you're not the only one doing purchasing. You have to train your team that they too are responsible. If they're making purchases, they too have to send those receipts over. If it's a physical receipt, make sure you download the app on your phone. Again, for the software that we have, there's an app. Take a picture of that receipt. Just write on it real quick. It's for this client. It's done. You're in your car anyway at the stoplight or in the
I
parking
know.
lot. Take 2 seconds.
I know. It's just, I know how many transactions the interior designers do, and it gets to be a lot for them. But if they use your system, which I recommend all my Profit Insider Academy people, if they don't have a bookkeeper, go call Carleen, right? Because I think your system is incredibly tight and efficient. And if you go from having no system to having your system, they're good to go as long as they
Mhm.
follow it.
You have to follow, you have to be consistent. And if you stay on top of it, it's not bad. If you let it get away from you, like you said, and now
Clean
if
up.
you don't, yeah, if you don't do it for 3 weeks, a month, it becomes, you look at it, you're just like, I can't. I don't have the brain power to do that anymore. So
Right. And then you lose the ability to know whether you had a profitable job or a not profitable job for Mrs. Jones because you just lost track of keeping track.
mhm. So one other thing that we do for our clients that have decided that they want to track profitability by client, we will send them a report at the end of the month with their financial package that says these are the trends, these are the cost of good, only cost of goods sold. These are your cost of goods sold transactions that were not tied to a client. So it gives
Ah,
them the opportunity to then go in and go, okay, these are the clients and send this back, and then we can retroactively add them in so that that information is in QuickBooks. So it's an extra step, but we want to make sure that they don't feel like, well, if I didn't do it, then all is lost. No, all is not lost. We can do it on the back end for you.
right. Okay. All right. Tell everyone if they need a bookkeeper with a great system already in place for an interior designer, tell them how to find you.
Yeah, we're C2 accounting and business support. So you can Google us. You can,
The
I'm
top.
pretty sure, yeah, there it is. Our link is right there,
Mhm.
c2-acctg.com. Come check us out. We offer free consultations. We can just chat to understand what your current process is like and kind of where you're hoping to get to and see if we can get you there.
Yeah, because if you're not running your business by your numbers, you're doing yourself an injustice because you need to be making decisions based on what the money is coming in, how profitable you are, what the flow is, your pipeline, everything is included in your thought process.
Right.
So don't bury your head in the sand, get a good bookkeeper, keep up on your transaction matching, batching,
Mhm.
putting it towards
Whatever you want to
projects,
call it. Yes.
whatever you want to call it. Make sure you're doing it so that you don't end up in a mess at the end of the year. And when you get on my calendar and I go, how profitable was that job? And you go, I have no idea. We're going
Mhm.
to teach you how to have an idea. So you know whether you're pricing yourself right. How do they even
Exactly.
know if they don't know their numbers?
Yes.
Right. So,
I
all
agree.
right.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, everyone. Thank you, Carleen, and once again for giving us a lesson on our bookkeeping and telling interior designers how they could get more information about their company and how well or how not well they may be doing. And we'll see you next month.
Thank you. Take
All
care,
right.
everyone. See you next
Bye,
month.
everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.